Have you ever made a Freudian slip or realized you've been saying a common expression wrong for years? We all make language mistakes from time to time, and it's nothing to be ashamed of. But it can be fun to learn what these errors are called and the science behind why they happen. There are four main types of linguistic lapses that humans make when speaking: Freudian slips, spoonerisms, eggcorns, and mondegreens. Freudian slips are the most well-known of the group. They are speech errors that are said to occur when someone's subconscious thoughts rise to the surface. A pretty common example of a Freudian slip is when someone accidentally calls their partner by their ex's name. This could simply be a force of habit or may suggest lingering feelings for their ex. Either way, it makes for a very awkward moment. The name comes from famed 20th century psychologist Sigmund Freud, who is known for connecting behavior to subconscious desires. But for the most part, cognitive psychologists believe Freudian slips tend to have more innocent explanations. Someone may have been tired or distracted, making their brain more likely to make a mistake. Another common language error is called a spoonerism. This is when two sounds in a phrase are switched, often the first letters of two words, like if you said man members instead of band members, or Bunny Babbit instead of Bunny Rabbit. Spoonerisms are named after William Archibald Spooner, a University of Oxford lecturer known for his entertaining quirks like mixing up letters. Why do these switches happen? Most likely because of a problem with what's known as your brain's speech plan. Your brain makes a plan to tell your mouth how to move to make certain sounds, and sometimes your brain gets a little mixed up. It may even have two possible speech plans and isn't sure which one to use, resulting in a spoonerism. A third type of language error is one you might not have heard of, but which you've probably made: mondegreens. This is when you hear something incorrectly in a song or poem, but it makes sense to you, so you continue to use the incorrect version. For example, in the Taylor Swift song, Blank Space, the line, "Got a long list of ex-lovers," is often misheard as "got a lot of Starbucks lovers." The name mondegreens stems from an author who misheard a line in a poem. The line was, "They have slain the Earl o' Moray and laid him on the green," but she heard, "and Lady Mondegreen." Scientists believe mondegreens often happen in music and poetry because they are one-sided media, and singers and poets use phrases that people may not be familiar with. But what's going on in the brain? Well, linguists disagree about the answer to this question. Some say your brain replaces a lyric with whatever makes the most sense, but others say it replaces the lyric with what your brain wants to hear, even if it doesn't really make sense. The final error to consider is called an eggcorn. This is another one that many people haven't heard of, but probably have committed. Eggcorns are very similar to mondegreens. They occur when a common phrase is changed to a similar or identical sounding phrase. The classic example of an eggcorn is saying "for all intensive purposes" instead of "for all intents and purposes." The word was coined by linguist Geoffrey Pullum, and is itself an eggcorn of the word acorn. There's not a ton of science behind this one. Your brain simply replaces a phrase with what it thinks it hears. Often eggcorns sound the same and have the same meaning as the original phrase, such as saying deep-seated instead of, well, deep-seated. An eggcorn can also happen because of antiquated words that the speaker is unfamiliar with, like death nail instead of the actual historical phrase death knell. It's worth reiterating that everyone makes mistakes now and then, even in their native language, especially if their native language is as confusing as English is. But the main purpose of language is to allow for clear communication, and these errors can get in the way of that. So keep an eye out for spoonerisms, mondegreens, and the rest so you don't get your wires crossed.